Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Dr. Jaws here, and tonight we are going to meet an entirely new genus, Loxodon. So, this is Loxodon macrorhinus, the Sliteye Shark. So, I'm very excited to dive into the species. Of course, I'm excited to dive into every species, but this one in particular, you can immediately see is very unusual looking compared to a lot of other shark species. So immediately right off the gate, we have a picture of a Sliteye shark near a baited remote underwater video survey, and you can see that it's an extremely elongated kind of carcharodonid. So it is a kind of requiem shark. So it's a cousin of sandbar sharks, bull sharks, and sharp-nosed sharks, but is an extremely elongated shark where it has very small pectoral fins, relatively fairly sized dorsal fin. But the positioning of each of the fins is just very, very widely spaced along this extremely elongated body. So it's almost reminiscent of like cat sharks or seven-gill sharks or even frilled sharks in terms of how it's not quite snake-like, it's not quite sinusoidal, but it is very uh, it's very unusual as far as carcharodontiforms go. So, and I'm really curious to learn exactly like why it's called a Sliteye shark and where that name comes from. So, a brief glance at the kind of some of the profiles we've seen on the species. Been talking about like the eyes themselves are like I think horizontally slit, which is kind of weird. So I don't think that's correct. So I'm excited to really dive into it and take a closer look as far as what or as to like what makes the species unique. So, based on its body, even though it's a very elongated body, it does look like a pelagic-looking shark. You can kind of tell between the size of the lower caudal fin and the upper caudal fin. The lower caudal fin is actually fairly large, so it kind of makes me think that this is a shark that does spend its time in the mid-water column. It's actually really interesting to see that the head is kind of short, where the eyes, the mouth, the snout, the rostrum, they're all kind of compressed relative to the body size, which is pretty interesting. And the eyes are very large too, so this is a shark that I suspect may enter into deep water. So I'm excited to see what we can see about the species and learn what we can learn and why it evolved the way it has, just having this very unusual body form. So it's a lot more slender, like proportionally than even like a blue shark, which is in the same family. It's just such an unusual body form, and it's actually even more slender than sharp-nosed sharks too. So sharp-nosed shark is probably like the closest cousin to this in terms of how it looks morphologically. But this is really really unusual, and I appreciate that it's in its own genus entirely for the right reason. Just being such a unique body plan for this shark. So I think without further ado, we'll take a look at some details on the Sliteye shark. So starting with fish base, so Sliteye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, let me go back here, discovered in 1839 by Mueller and Allais. So this is a very old, or well known, well not maybe not well known, but a shark with a lot of history. There is the original plate from 1839, which is very very strange looking. So, and it almost looks fanciful, but I think what happened here is this drawing is from a severely emaciated specimen as a result of preservation. So this is genuinely based on a real shark, like a real individual shark, but it whatever was used to preserve it, like alcohol or formaldehyde, has really reduced a lot of the body mass. So especially in the rostrum here. So the eyes are the same size, the rostrum has shrunk, the fins have actually kind of, you can see they have shrunk and kind of had some wear and tear as well. When the artist from over 200, or nearly 200 years ago, illustrated this first individual. But eyes are very, very large, proportional to the size of the mouth. And proportional to the rest of the body, the eyes are actually still very, very large. The teeth are interesting. So here you have a little symphysial tooth and then pretty strongly recurved, sharp bladed teeth on the upper jaw and the lower jaw. This is a little strange where both the upper and the lower teeth have similar shape, which is pretty interesting because a lot of Carcharodonids, a lot of sharks in this family, they have blade-like upper teeth and then kind of like peg-like lower teeth. So it's interesting seeing that there's blade-like teeth in both the upper and the lower jaws. And then you can even see an illustration of the rows of the teeth here. And it almost looks like, just based on this illustration, there's multiple functional rows. So we'll have to see a more modern jaw set to compare. So pretty interesting illustration overall. You can even see the eyes are so large that it looks like the shark may have a little bit of what do you call it? Like some of this may be preservation damage, but some sharks are able to kind of like see above or below them. So specifically, the pelagic thresher is able to kind of like look a little bit above, and that kind of helps it hunt and whip prey items with its tail. So it's kind of interesting how bulging the eyes are for this shark. And again, this might be a little bit of preservation damage, but I'm curious if this enables it to have a wider field of view. I think, oh, here's a nice photo of a Sliteye shark. This individual looks a little bit larger. And it looks a little bit more filled out, and actually it looks less unusual in terms of the relative size of the head and the fins versus the body. So still very elongate, but not as strange as the first photo that we saw. Pretty strong caudal fin. The upper lobe is actually really strong, and actually has this really cool upper part above the subterminal notch. So this is actually a little bit proportionally larger than many other sharks. So I think this is a strong swimmer in the midwater column. No jaw pictures. Usually there are jaw pictures on shark references. So let's see what we can learn from Fishbase. So Loxodon comes from loxos, the Greek word for slanting, and odon means tooth, probably referring to the oblique teeth cusp. Name first published with no included species. So slanted tooth is kind of like the translation of the Greek name. And then macrorhinus, macro from macros, which means long, and rhinus means nose, probably referring to its long, narrow snout. So 7 to 100 meters is the depth range, so that's actually still fairly, not shallow, but like that's a shark that lives only in the sunlit zone, in the upper half of the sunlit zone. So not a deep diver, as I was wondering with the large eyes. Let's see, a small, very slim shark with a long, narrow snout, big eyes with rear notches, short labial. Rear notches near the eyes, so that might be where it gets its name. Let's see if I could see an example of that. Big eyes with rear notches. Okay, so in that first photo, I don't really see anything. In that shark references photo, I don't really see anything either. And I just passed through a couple other photos. Let's see, for this one. So maybe it's this like little dark coloration here, like this little dark spot kind of behind the pupil, possibly. Hope we could get a better picture. So it looks like, it's very hard to tell, but it looks like behind the pupil is a horizontal notch, but it's very hard to tell. Oh, here we go. Okay, there looks like there's a fold of skin that's a little bit of a notch here too. But yeah, very tricky to tell. If they're referring to this, that is a very subtle feature. If they're referring to, I can't tell if this is like a preservation thing, but if they're referring to this horizontal band along the eye, that's still very subtle. It's very difficult to tell in life. So let's keep learning. see what we could see. Short labia furrows, small oblique cusped teeth with smooth edges, second dorsal fin small, low, and behind larger anal fin, and dorsal ridge rudimentary or absent. Gray above, pale below, fins with pale edges, transparent in life. Interesting. Caudal and first dorsal fins long, with narrow dark margin. First dorsal fin also with a dusky tip. Found on continental and insular shelves, mainly near the bottom. Feeds on small bony fishes, shrimps, and cuttlefish. Interesting. So, hey Howard, how are you? Hope you had a good weekend. I've got a little bit of a shark story for you for the weekend. It's good to see you again. Welcome back. I'm going to finish this biology bit and then get into a shark story. I just think it's interesting that the Sliteye shark eats cuttlefish, so it's kind of cool to see a shark that, in the Indo-Pacific, hunting such a complicated kind of prey item. So cuttlefish being a cephalopod, probably a little bit more intelligent than most other prey items that sharks hunt. So, viviparous, so live bearing, gives birth annually to litters of 2 to 4 pups. Caught in artisanal and small-scale commercial fisheries, utilize fresh for human consumption, meat and fins, but of limited value due to its small size. Okay. So for the Sliteye shark, I don't know if you were here at the top of the stream, but I was just talking about how unusual this animal is. It's very, very, very extreme looking in terms of the shape. Where it's, and this might be a juvenile, because there's another individual that looked a little bit bigger, a little bit more normal. But this shark, clearly, I mean, it looks just, it's almost like a pool noodle in terms of how thin it is. It has very small pectoral fins, sizable dorsal fin, and then a fairly large caudal fin, and very large eyes. But the other fins are so much smaller, and the body is just so elongated, and the fin placement is so widely spaced. It is a really, really unusual looking shark. So worthy of its own genus. This was the other other photograph we were kind of taking a look at too. This is of a larger individual. And this one feels a little bit more rounded out, a little bit stockier in shape, so it looks a little bit more like a classical kind of like a sharp-nosed shark, but still very elongated overall. So, but story time, really quick. So I went camping on and actually let me see if I can pull this up on the channel post page, because I actually just finished a piece of art of a shark that I saw last weekend. Let's see. View channel. There we go. Okay. See if we can get this to full screen. Okay, there we go. So, wish I had a, see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. So it's, okay, it's a little bit more central. There we go. Alright. So, it's late May, and this time of year, this species of shark comes back into the Chesapeake Bay. This is the sandbar shark, Conroe-Nicholls plumbeus. So there's a place I go camping on the Eastern Shore. It's a really, really great park that I really love to visit. And I've seen a lot of good wildlife there before. I've seen washed up juvenile smoothhounds, but I've never seen any other shark there before. But I know the sharks are in that area. So went camping last weekend. So it's a long weekend in the United States with Memorial Day weekend. Today being Memorial Day. Went camping this weekend, and I think I went Friday. I think I took Friday off. So Friday, and then went camping Friday night into Saturday, and walked the beach, trying to find a good snorkel spot. The visibility was terrible because it was raining all weekend. So I couldn't really I didn't really get a lot of good underwater photos of things, but I was walking the beach, seeing a lot of activity, a lot of little small schools of fish, just kind of bait fish jumping at the surface. saw a huge striped bass hunting near the shoreline. I wish I got a photo of it, but it just came in really quickly and then disappeared. And then saw this wonderful pod of dolphins offshore, kind of making a southern run. So they were going along the shoreline, heading towards the mouth of the bay. So I just kind of like walking, scanning the horizon, trying to find something. Turn around, this beautiful. Hey, Roy, welcome back. Good to see you. This beautiful big fin, vertical fin, just is going through the water and disappears silently beneath the surface. And I was freaking out. I just knew, oh my gosh, that's a sandbar shark. And I was so excited. I wish I got it on video. I did take video around the area, and I tried to do a couple like techniques to try to attract the shark. So the big one is, this is really terrible. This is really bad advice. But if you half empty a water bottle and you kind of like put it underwater and start crunching it, it makes a low frequency sound that's very attractive to fish. So it's worked for other species of fish. I've never attracted a shark with it. Don't try it in like a really murky area, but if you have clear water, if you want to give it a go, it's an interesting technique that I've had hit and miss, like moderate success with it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attract the shark, but I did get to see it. And what was extremely exciting is the Chesapeake Bay has a bunch of cownose rays, which they're one of my favorite Elazo banks. But the cownose rays, they famously kind of like break the surface with their fins, and people mistake those for sharks. Where it's this interesting, it's a very distinct movement where they break the surface and go back down, break the surface and go back down. And the way they cruise, it's a very unique shape. And the giant fin that I saw was definitely not that. It definitely was like 100% a shark. So very pleased to share that I've seen a sandbar shark last weekend. I wish I got it on video or some kind of footage. But I did manage to make this piece of art just, honoring sandbar sharks. So this is part of my recent shark series. And I've been having fun like posting these on the community page. But this is Carcharodon plumbeus. So, and then just in case you missed it, Roy, sandbar sharks are back in the Chesapeake Bay this time of year, and the females are here in late May and early June to pup. So the Chesapeake Bay is their principal nursery grounds in the in the Atlantic. I forget the other nursing areas that they have in the Atlantic, the Chesapeake Bay and the southeastern coast, like Winyah Bay in South Carolina. Those are like the really big areas for these guys. So hoping to see more sharks this year, hoping to like get more encounters, but happy to say that the season is starting off on a good note with a sandbar shark encounter. So really brief, but got to see one last weekend. So I then made this little drawing, kind of celebrated it. So for tonight's species, this is a very distant cousin of sandbar shark. Thank you. Very distant cousin of sandbar sharks. Me too. Plumbeus is super cool. And it's an endangered species too, sadly. But it's kind of. I've said this before. It's like sandbar sharks are kind of like the poster child of sharks in Virginia, but for good reason. And I recently learned that. The studies that have been, what do you call it? Virginia Institute of Marine Science did a lot of studies on sandbar sharks specifically. A lot of sharks in general. They did their longline survey since the 70s. And the focus primarily was on sandbar sharks because that population was noticeably starting to crash because of their life history characteristics. They are very slow to grow. They have only very few young. They take a year off in between. It's like they'll be pregnant for a year, and then they'll take a year resting period, and then ultimately it's like a 2-year reproductive cycle for mature sandbar sharks. So they do not fare well against fishing pressure, and so there's a lot of research done on their fisheries. And that research was the beginning of the 1993 Fisheries Management Action Plan of sharks in the United States. And this was like the nationwide plan on managing shark fisheries. So, which is really very important, and so it's kind of like a really cool. It's a cool flagship species. Maryland recently named the fossil, like the prehistoric megalodon, as their state shark. And I think they're the first state to have a state shark. So if Virginia does have a state shark at some point, I would absolutely recommend the sandbar shark. I think sandbar shark would be a perfect state shark for Virginia. And then I would think, and let me know in the comments too, like state sharks or province sharks that would represent, you know, like things that you think would make a lot of sense and would match really well. So I think Virginia and sandbar sharks match really well. I think white sharks and Massachusetts probably match really well. But let me know in the comments, like recommendations for state sharks or provincial sharks for just different areas like British Columbia, Nova Scotia, California, Florida. Love to hear your thoughts on like if you had to like assign a shark to each state. And I might do this actually throughout the state or province. I might do this throughout the stream too, just for fun. So just go type this in. Virginia sandbar shark. But hope you guys had a great weekend too, and let me know if anything fun or exciting. What's really funny is my wife and I are, speaking of fisheries, we're watching a lot of Deadliest Catch lately because it's very bingeable. So we've been enjoying, and I really love that my wife is really getting into it too. Just like it was one of those shows where we didn't know if we would really stick with it. But we're both loving it very much. So we started from season 1, and we're just enjoying all the nautical escapades. And it's weird. It's actually really interesting to watch it from a fisheries perspective because the crab season in Deadliest Catch is very short and adhere to very strictly. And we just finished the first season where I think they replaced. Love this suggestion, Howard. Cladotis for Ohio. Fantastic suggestion. State shark of Ohio being Cladotis. Let's pull up Cladotis, by the way. That's super cool. Because very prominent fossils are probably from that region. So really cool suggestion for the state shark for Ohio. But anyway, I was just saying for Adestus for Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is lucky to have Adestus. That's a really cool prehistoric shark to lay claim to. And I really love that like maybe like insular areas like landlocked states or provinces would have prehistoric sharks, and then shoreline states or provinces have modern sharks. That'd be kind of like a cool system. So. But I think my last comment on Deadliest Catch, it's interesting to watch it from a fisheries perspective because you see changes in management, and I appreciate that the management is like or the quotas and such are very strictly adhered to. It's weird. It's like a whole show dedicated to a managed or like involving a managed fishery. Like there's no poaching or anything, which is. It's just really interesting to watch kind of from that perspective. So, but I just like it for the nautical hijinks. So, getting back to tonight's species. So this is the first time we've ever seen this genus Loxodon, and for good reason. It's a very unusual shark from the Indo-Pacific, the Sliteye shark. It gets its namesake from these slits or notches at the rear end of the eye, but I'm having a hard time kind of seeing that. So I'm presuming it's like this little patch of white right here is how it gets its name, but it's very hard to tell. So, and here's another picture a closer picture of the eye where there's this vertical line here, but I can't tell if that's a horizontal line here, but I can't tell if that's like specimen damage or if that's an actual feature of the shark. And there is this like little notch here, but that is so small. It's very hard to justify that being a distinguishing characteristic of this animal. So, very very tricky to tell what's kind of going on with the species. So hopefully we'll learn more as we read through tonight. Summary: the Slit-eye shark is a small-bodied, productive shark species found in inshore waters throughout the Indo-West Pacific. It is commonly taken in artisanal, subsistence, and commercial fisheries. Declines have potentially occurred in areas of high fishing pressure such as Southeast Asia. However, the species is likely to be able to sustain a reasonable level of fishing pressure as it has high growth rates and an annual reproductive cycle. In Australia, it is only occasionally taken in gillnet fisheries in northern Australia, but forms only a small portion of the catch. Therefore, globally, the Slit-eye shark is assessed as least concern, and in Australia, stocks are considered as sustainable. So it's actually really cool comparing this to, I was talking about the sandbar sharks being very slow to reproduce and very vulnerable to fisheries pressure. It's really cool to compare that to this species, and this species is similar to sharp-nosed sharks in that they grow comparatively quickly and reproduce really quickly, and that's kind of like the winning strategy in the face of the Anthropocene, like with a lot of human fishing pressure, small, fast-growing sharks are faring better than larger sharks. So, Roy, I love this comment. It looks like a prototype blue shark. It kind of does, in terms of like it has the pointed snout, the elongated body. It doesn't have the large pectoral fins, but everything else kind of like lines up. So, very good observation because they're the same family. And it's just kind of interesting to have similar aesthetic, kind of a similar appearance morphologically. Distribution of Slit-eye shark occurs almost continuously across inshore waters from eastern South Africa to southern Japan and eastern Australia. Within Australia is found from Geraldton across the Northern Territory to Moreton Bay. There's currently little information on population size structure for Slit-eye sharks, although it is known to be quite common in some inshore locations such as southeast Queensland. Given that the species is not harvested in large quantities by Australian fisheries, the local stock is considered sustainable. Fisheries. The Slit-eye shark is commonly taken as bycatch at commercial, artisanal, and subsistence fisheries throughout its distribution. Within Australia, it is commonly encountered in northwestern Australia demersal trawls and in gillnet fisheries in Western Australia, Northern Territory, and Queensland. Catches in these fisheries are small and efficient, and effect on populations is likely low. Habitat biology. The Slit-eye shark is a small-bodied species that inhabits coastal and insular shelf waters at depths down to 100 meters. It is more abundant in waters of low turbidity. So that's interesting because of the large eyes. But it's weird. So my original suspicion with the large eyes is that this would maximize light in a deep water setting, but we know the shark lives in shallow water. So then it gets into like, well, maybe it maximizes light in a turbid setting, but that gets kind of weird because a lot of sharks that live in turbid areas, they have small eyes, but maybe, maybe it's two different approaches of hunting in murky water. So bull sharks, for example, bull sharks have very, very tiny eyes, but they don't maybe rely on their eyes as much as other senses as they go through rivers and like truly like muddy water. Whereas I wonder if Slit-eye sharks maybe they're hunting in kind of like not necessarily like muddy estuaries, but just like murky water in general, and the eyes kind of like help maximize light in that sort of environment. I'm not really quite sure. It's interesting. More abundant in waters of low turbidity. Maximum size is at least 99 centimeters, so nearly a meter total length, so about 3.3 feet. Maximum age is estimated for males at 7 years and for females at about 9 years. It reproduces annually with an average litter size of 2 pups. So it's actually a pretty small litter. Interesting. I think we already saw all the photos here. Didn't really see the top-down view, so you can actually see. I wonder if I could zoom in here. They mentioned that the pectoral fins are transparent in life. You can actually see that here, where you could see that the line on the paper that the shark is lying on, you can actually see through the pectoral fin and see that line right there. So never seen a shark with clear pectoral fins before, or clear fins before, so it's kind of interesting. Pelvic fins have that too, which is pretty interesting. And I'm not sure why that's the case. So in terms of like having that adaptation, but pretty interesting. Caudal fin, pretty large upper notch. Let's see. Yeah, I think those are all the photos that we have. I think Howard may have seen this already, but just in case, Roy, this is the original description, um, which is from 1839. So this is over nearly 200 years old, which is pretty amazing. Actually, did you see this, Howard, at the top of the stream? And I apologize if I mistook that, but it's such an interesting drawing because it's actually accurate in terms of this is an artist covering a preserved specimen, but otherwise it looks like very, very ridiculous and very wild. But it's only because this specimen was heavily damaged, so it's not like a fanciful drawing where someone is like guessing. It's actually a pretty accurate illustration of a highly like emaciated specimen, which is pretty interesting. Let's see. This is a website we've seen a couple times. Lazo.com. It's like a good old school website. So the Sliteye Shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, like the modern Hemiprisus elongata, is currently only found in western Pacific and Indian Ocean. Judging from its teeth, the fossil Loxodon may have been slightly larger than its modern counterpart, which reaches slightly less than a meter in length. It is an uncommon element in the Pungo River Formation. So it looks like here is some fossil Loxodon. The teeth actually look interesting where they are a little bit more specialized than the modern Loxodon teeth. So the uppers have a bit of a recurve too, but the lowers definitely look like that classic requiem shark, just kind of having like a more centralized spike as opposed to a blade. But then these teeth right here, which I'm assuming are rear teeth, are like really strongly oblique. And it's interesting though that they all look different, whereas the illustration that we saw here, these all look relatively the same, like the upper and the lower jaw. Although this is a much older illustration. I love this comment, like a Dr. Seuss shark. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it does look like a Dr. Seuss shark. Oh my goodness. I was reading, I think it was about a month ago, but I was reading Dr. Seuss to my niece, and I should make like a custom book with just these like these really weird shark drawings. I make Dr. Seussian rhymes with those. So let's see. I zoomed in on this photo, but kind of curious. This is an article. This is not really a science paper, but I'm kind of curious what this is. This is from Environmental, Coastal and Offshore, or ECO. Slit-eye shark discovered in remote Indian Ocean. The Sliteye Shark has been recorded for the first time on the Great Chagos Bank, the world's largest coral atoll structure, making a major advance in understanding the geographic range of this near-threatened species. The recent sightings in deepwater seagrass meadows underscore the ecological importance of the Chagos archipelago and its marine protected area, revealing previously undiscovered biodiversity in its reefs and seagrass beds. Named for its distinctive slit-like eyes, thought to enhance vision in low-light conditions, the Sliteye Shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, is well adapted to deeper, dimly lit environments as well as clear, shallow water and has been found in the Chagos archipelago for the first time. So this sentence is a little weird because I don't really see, and let me know if I'm not catching something, but I don't really understand why it's called Sliteye Shark still. And also, it you can go into deepish water, like 100 meters is kind of deep, but it's not like deep. You know, it's definitely not Twilight Zone. So the sightings occurred in previously unstudied seagrass in the southern rim of the Great Chagos Bank. The sharks were captured just 11 kilometers apart at depths of 23 to 29 meters using beta remote underwater video or BRUV systems, underwater survey systems that track and record marine life without human disturbance. These observations offer new insights into deepwater seagrass habitats first discovered by the team in 2016. Given the species' wide distribution, researchers believe it's unlikely that it is rare in Chagos. Charlotte Olton, study lead and master's by research student in the Marine and Conservation Ecology Lab at Swansea University, said discovering the Slit-eye shark in the Chagos archipelago was incredibly exciting. Not only is it a new record for the region, but it also highlights how much we still have to learn about deepwater seagrass ecosystems and their role in supporting marine biodiversity, particularly in remote regions of the Indian Ocean. Dr. Nicole Esteban, Associate Professor of Marine Ecology at Swansea University, added satellite tracking of green turtles led us to discover extensive seagrass meadows on the Great Chagos Bank at depths of 25 to 30 meters, far deeper than expected. We have now recorded a wide diversity of marine life using the seagrass habitat for shelter and food, including over 110 fish species, and as we know now, the Sliteye shark. With Sliteye shark populations projected to decline by up to 29% in the next 15 years due to fishing pressures, this discovery raises important questions about species abundance, habitat use, and conservation priorities. It also reinforces the urgent need to explore and protect deepwater habitats. These latest findings, based on surveys conducted in late 2024, are part of a collaborative project between Swansea University and international partners, funded by the Bertarelli Foundation through the Bertarelli Foundation's Indian Ocean Marine Science Program. The research aims to map current seagrass coverage, model habitats suitability to predict the likely extent of seagrass growth, and assess the ecological importance of deepwater seagrass ecosystems across the archipelago. So, really cool. This is actually a really great news article. So, kind of like, I'm going to share this source just because it's, I haven't seen it before, but it sounds, that was a pretty well written article that I really enjoyed reading about the species and love the photo here. So just going to share that for potential future reading. So eco, environmental, coastal, and offshore. So really cool to observe that this shark is an active participant in coral reef systems and then also deepwater seagrass systems. Also fascinating that there's seagrass that can exist in deep water because I'm used to seagrass being in very shallow water habitats. But also, I mean, every seagrass species and system is different, so. Let's see. Other names for the Slit-eye shark are Jordan's blue dog shark, which is very specific. Jordan's blue dog shark, slender dog shark, Slit-eye shark, or Slit-eye shark. So I kind of, well, yeah, all of these names are kind of maybe not the best, because it's, I almost was going to say I like slender dog shark, but it's not a dogfish. So, and then I don't really know where blue comes from, so very, very strange. If I remember correctly, this shark went through a lot of revisions taxonomically, where it originally, I think, was a Conroe-Nicholls, and then it got reassigned to something else, and then this whole genus got resurrected, so it's been a little bit all over the place. So. Also, what just came to mind for state of Florida, I think there's a couple ways you can go, but I think black tip shark might be a good pick, because they do these like really famous migrations. Although, bull shark is also a really good pick too, because at least on this coast, their stronghold is in Florida. Like the Atlantic population of bull sharks really, really do love Florida. And then I would almost say like great hammerheads maybe, but I think bull sharks or blacktip sharks are probably good picks for the state shark of Florida. But let me know what you think in the comments. And then I said Massachusetts was white shark for sure. And then I've got one for Maine. Maine will always be the spiny dogfish. That is the shark of Maine. It is the Gulf of Maine's staple shark is spiny dogfish, also known as pike dogfish. So, white shark in Massachusetts. Really, California probably should be the white shark, to be honest. But like white sharks in Massachusetts do go hand in hand now, because there's such a huge concentration of them with the rebuilt seal populations. There's so many white sharks now up there. So those are sort of my picks. Let me know what you think. Still a lot of other states and provinces to go, but those are kind of sort of my thoughts on those areas preliminarily. So let's see. Small, very slim shark with long, narrow snout, big eyes with rear notches. Rear notches. So I guess it's just. I guess it's just the this, which is very very small. It's such a weird. That's such a weird thing to name an animal after. It's like this is such a small feature. Like if you could see like where my cursor is, that's a really really small area. This little notch is like very. I really wouldn't call this a Sliteye shark. I wish I had a different name, honestly, because that's just because like Slit-eye Shark sounds really cool, and it sounds like that would be like a really distinctive physical feature, but it kind of isn't. So interesting. Let's see. Diet: Arabian Gulf waters of the United Arab Emirates. Loxodon seems to have preference for one species in terms of teleost, anchovies, and feeds on a wide variety of crustaceans and cephalopods. Interesting. Okay, so this is probably the. Okay, this drawing kind of helps a little bit where I see the notch is a little bit more prominent here, and then you can kind of see the nictitating membrane coming up here. So this might be the best descriptor. I'm just double checking, making sure I'm not missing anything. A rear notch and near the eyes. That's such a strange feature to focus on. Yeah. So, I guess it's just this, which is this like this little rear notch. But that's really a terrible descriptor. Oh yes, Howard, absolutely, Alaska salmon shark. 100%. That's an excellent pick for that province. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that. Yep. Yeah. I think for the Sliteye Shark, this is a really weird name, and I'd be open to let me know let me know other names that you think might be good for the species. Because I think it's kind of terrible. I'm so sorry, but like I think Sliteye Shark. It just sounds so cool, but that's not really helpful. Really identifying the species. So I think it would have to be something to do with its body, its like slenderness. So like slender shark or slender man shark or pool noodle shark. Just something that's a little bit more relative to just its overall appearance. I just think that feature is just so subtle. So, but interesting. I'm kind of curious to see what else we could learn in terms of like its discovery and kind of how it got its name, and if that sheds any light in terms of like why that feature was zeroed in on. So, but I like our state and provincial shark list, by the way. So again, salmon shark for Alaska is perfect. That's a perfect pick. Just because I think it's one of the very, very few sharks that could even be up there. So it's super cool. So Sliteye Shark, Loxodon macrorhinus. So in the last assessment that we saw, which I think is from like the 2010s, it was least concern. Now it is nearly threatened, so it's still not a terrible status, but not quite great for a shark. So near threatened species with a pretty large distribution, actually a huge distribution around the Indian Ocean, a little bit of the Pacific Ocean too. So you have a little bit of South Africa, all the way up the coastline into the Red Sea, the Arabian Peninsula, India, Indonesia, northern Australia, Madagascar, China, and Japan. So that's actually a pretty huge distribution for the species. Assessment information in detail. The Sliteye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, is a small shark that occurs from eastern South Africa to southern Japan and the Australian east coast, that is in the Indian Ocean and northwest and western central Pacific. It is demersal on continental and insular shelves at depths of 2 to 120 meters. So that's already a little bit deeper than the first assessment, which is interesting, and prefers areas of high water clarity. So this contradicts another summary that we found that said that it prefers turbid water. Now it's saying it prefers areas of higher water clarity. So that's interesting. The species is captured as bycatch and occasionally targeted in industrial and small-scale fisheries by multiple fishing gears including trawl, gillnet, and line, and is retained for its meat and to a lesser extent for its fins. The population is suspected to be declining across most of its range except for within Australia, where there is likely a stable population, so go Australia, due to the low to moderate managed fishing pressure. Although the Sliteye shark is a productive species, which likely increases its resilience to fishing pressure, it is subject to historic and ongoing intense fishing pressure across its spatial and depth range. It is still common in parts of its Arabian Seas and southeastern Asia regions, but also has declined and is now uncommon in other parts of those regions. Another small productive shark species, the milk shark, which we did a episode on, with a similar spatial and depth range, has undergone steep population declines in parts of its range. Declines in other shark species and demersal fisheries resources across more than half of the Sliteye shark's range are also reported. Taking a precautionary approach, it is suspected that the Sliteye shark has undergone a population reduction of 20 and 29% over the past 3 generation lengths, 15 years, due to levels of exploitation, is assessed as near threatened. So I appreciate sharks that are approached with caution in terms of their IUCN Red List assessment. So the shark actually might be doing fairly well. Thank you, Howard. Sorry about that. Appreciate the notes on audio. It's great to see that the shark is doing fairly well, in that it honestly might be okay, but just kind of making a note and putting it in a near threatened category, just for conservationists to keep an eye on it, as it overlaps a range with a shark with a similar biology, and as we know, sharp-nosed sharks are fast to reproduce and fast to grow, so that's a good species to compare it to, with the milk shark being a kind of sharp-nosed shark. So let's see. Habitat. The Sliteye shark is demersal and continental in its shelves. It reaches maximum size of about 1 meter. It appears to prefer habitats of high water clarity. Okay, no new notes from that. I think with that we'll dive into the actual research on the species. So, starting with, this might be where the genus kind of all began. So, proceedings, the United States National Museum, Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. So, a revision of the carcharodontic shark genera Scoliodon, Loxodon, and Rhizoprionodon. So, Loxodon is our Slit-eye shark, Rhizoprionodon are sharp-nosed sharks. Scoliodon, I'm actually not sure what that is, so I'm just going to check Sharks of the World right here. So, like having, here we go. Spade-nosed shark. So, Scoliodon is a spade-nosed shark. Right. And this is from 1964. Wow. The purpose of this paper is to revise the genera Scoliodon, Loxodon, and Rhizoprionodon. The most recent studies allocate all the species, including this report, to a single genus, Scoliodon, and is for this reason, together through the superficial resemblance to each other, that the 3 genera are treated together. While these genera do not seem to form a natural group, judgment on their relationships is deferred until the other genera of the family Cochorhinidae are more completely known. Among the three genera, Scoliodon is quite distinct from the other two and easily distinguishable from all other Cochorhinidae. Loxodon and Rhizoprianodon perhaps are closely related, and it is possible that the two subgenera under Rhizoprianodon should be elevated to generic status. Differences separating the genera, as they are here recognized, are presented in the key, and their characteristics are discussed under their respective generic headings. The characters previously used in assigning the species herein to a single genus and separate them primarily from Conroe-Nicholls have never been adequately evaluated. These characters are the smooth and oblique teeth, the nature of the labial furrows, and in Loxodon, the presence of a spiracle. Interesting. In addition to these characters, and more important, I find that the group can be conveniently, though not naturally, separated from other Cochorhinids, and having the origin of the second dorsal fin never in advance of the middle of the anal fin base, and frequently over or behind the anal axil. The group differs from most Cochorhinids in having the cusp on most teeth smooth, although in the larger specimens of some Rhizoprianodon species, the cusp becomes serrulate. Alright, I'm gonna just kind of fast forward to notes on Loxodon specifically. Let's see. Loxodon can be distinguished by its short dorsal fin base, by the second dorsal fin usually originating posterior to a vertical line through the anal axil, and by having a notched orbital rim. So you can see the second dorsal fin originating past the midpoint of the anal fin, and then apparently this notch right here is a distinguishing characteristic. Let's see. And short dorsal fin base. So let's see if we can get a picture of that. Okay. Let's see. The species of Scoliodon, Loxodon, and Rhizoprianodon are distributed primarily through the shallow tropical marine waters of the world, with some forms straying over moderate depths and into temperate areas. None of the species is known to occur in the Mediterranean or in Oceania. Now that's kind of interesting because we know that Loxodon lives in Oceania, so let's see. But this is a bit older for a paper too, so... Okay, posterior rim in the orbit of a slight notch at mid-level. Okay, so this confirms that this is the feature that, so this feature is it is 100% a subtle feature, and this is what the species name is based on. So Sliteye Shark is based on this little notch right here. So, I love the shark. I love all sharks. I think this name is terrible for this species. Just because this is so small and there's no way you could see that in life, unless you were right up close to it. So, yeah, so that's interesting. Let's see if there's any other characteristics. Origin dorsal fin rarely posterior to the oppressed pectoral inner corner by the distance greatest length of fourth gill opening. This is like really specific characteristics here. Oh, interesting. Sexual dimorphism and dentition of sharks is reported only for the squalled genus Diania. Dental sexual dimorphism also exists in Rhizoprianodon. it also exists to a much lesser degree in Loxodon. This phenomenon is probably widespread and unrecognized in sharks. Interesting. The shallow notch on the posterior rim of the orbit is always present, though it may not always be obvious to an untrained observer unless compared with the smooth orbital rims of other species. Occasionally there are two notches or an area around the notch that appear to be scarred. The flap of the nostril is frequently triangular without development like robe. Interesting. Okay, here we go. And then here is well, I don't think I'll be able to flip it. Like I probably could, but it's probably going to screw up the bandwidth. So, but here is a illustration of Loxodon here with an updated tooth illustration. It's actually really interesting to see that even this is a century after the original description. The teeth are relatively the same, and they are the same shape, or largely the same shape in the upper and lower jaw, which I find really fascinating. Here is the figure of the eye with the characteristic notch here. And interesting tooth type. For being a small shark handling fishes, cuttlefishes, and crabs, it's just interesting that both the upper and lower teeth are similarly shaped and recurved pretty strongly. So. Okay. Let's see what else we can learn moving forward in time. So, we'll read a couple abstracts, but there's a couple other papers that dive in a little bit more deeply to the species, so I'm excited to kind of take a look. So, as an abstract for the diet of two commercially important shark species in the United Arab Emirates, the milk shark and the Sliteye shark. The diets of the milk shark, Rhizoprionodon acutus, and the Sliteye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, landed from the artisanal fishery in the Arabian Gulf waters of the United Arab Emirates, were investigated to determine their dietary preferences. Stomach contents from 57 milk sharks and 53 Slit-eye sharks were collected from Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Ras Al Khaimah during fishery surveys from January to May 2012. Prey items were identified to the lowest possible taxonomic level, grouped into 5 categories including teleost fish, cephalopods, crustaceans, invertebrates, and other. The diets of both species are described using the numeric, frequency, and weight methods, and the index of relative importance. The majority of stomachs for both species had food, with 66% of milk shark stomachs and 90% of Slit-eye shark stomachs containing prey items, both dominated by small teleosts. Rhizoprionodon acutus fed on a wide variety of teleost species, primarily in Grallidae, anchovies, moharas, and jacks, with the occasional crustacean of cephalopod prey. On the other hand, Slit-eye sharks seem to have a preference for one species in terms of teleosts, which are anchovies, and fed on a wider variety of crustaceans and cephalopods. So it's kind of cool to see that Slit-eye sharks focus more on invertebrates than vertebrates. There's little overlap in the diets of these two species, suggesting they may either be using different habitats or that in these waters the milk shark is a generalist species while Slit-eye shark is a specialist feeder. So really cool to see that they're two sharks that overall kind of have a slightly similar body shape, but they're occupying two very different niches, which is so cool. It's so cool to see that you can have a shark that physically or morphologically looks similar, but they're doing two very different ways, or like invoking two very different methods, or like they're hunting two different sets of prey, which allows them to not really compete with each other, and it almost, in a weird way, I don't want to use the word justifies the two species, but it's kind of interesting that they're two similar species, but they each have these two different niches that allow both to survive, which is pretty fascinating. So this is a checklist study. Here's a kind of like a FAO guide, which are really cool. Great summaries of shark species from around the world. So these are typically short and sweet, but Slit-eye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, Local names are Great, Cant, and then Tilago. Habitat are coastal clean waters near the surface and bottom from 7 to 80 meters. Fisheries are gillnets, line gears, and bottom trawls. Distinctive characters: snout long and narrow, short labial furrows, big eyes with rear notches. So here's the characteristic notch here. Second dorsal fin origin behind anal fin origin. Anal fin with very large preanal ridges, 24 to 28 teeth in upper jaw, and 24 to 29 teeth in lower jaw. Small oblique cusp teeth with smooth edges. In life, the color is gray above, pale below, fins with pale edges, transparent in life. Caudal on first dorsal fin with narrow dark margin. First dorsal origin, well behind pectoral fin rear tip. Interdorsal ridge absent or rudimentary. And then in this illustration, you can see that the eyes are not bulging. So I think that other illustration that we saw was just specimen damage. So this shark doesn't have extended vision, kind of like I was wondering if it did, kind of like pelagic threshers do. So it looks like the eyes are pretty flush with the head. So overall, again, in this scientific illustration, large dorsal fin, kind of small pectoral fins, very small anal and pelvic fins, and second-dorsal fin. Very elongated body with a long snout. And I like Roy's suggestion that it's kind of like a prototype blue shark, so I'd rather call it proto-blue shark than Sliteye shark, just because, I mean, you should really call it knot shark, as opposed to Sliteye shark, but yeah, not really sure where that name comes from. Let's see. Mitochondrial genome and phylogenetic position of the Sliteye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus. The Sliteye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, is the only member of the genus Loxodon in the family Carcharinidae. In a study, first present the complete mitochondrial genome of Loxodon macrorhinus and determines phylogenetic position within Carcharinidae based on relative mitogenomes. The mitochondrial genome was 16,702 base pairs in length, with a typical gene order in vertebrates. Let's see. Loxodon, I'm just going to skip the genetics here. Loxodon macrorhinus was placed as a sister to the genus Scoliodon in the Bayesian tree. Interesting. So it makes sense that they were once considered one group and then they were split up separately. So it makes sense that they're considered closely related. Diversity, occurrence, and conservation of sharks in the southern South China Sea. It looks like the Sliteye shark is here sporadically in this paper. Let's see. Among the 28 species found in the study, the brown-banded bamboo shark had the highest number of landings. Second most dominant species was the Indonesian bamboo shark, followed by the spot-tailed shark, the white-spotted bamboo shark, and the Slit-eye shark. Scout hammerhead, which is listed endangered, was also abundant. Furthermore, pelagic thresher, Hemigelius microstoma, Hemipristis elongata, and Carcharhinus plumbeus are listed as vulnerable species. So snaggletooth sharks and the sandbar shark. And this is the area that was studied for this study. Looks like Carcharhinus chushat is in here. So this is the Indonesian whaler shark, which we talked about last week. So it looks like the Sliteye shark and the Indonesian whaler shark actually occupy a similar habitat, which is kind of cool. Okay. So not too much more information, but kind of nice little tidbit of knowledge, knowing that the shark that we talked about last week is in the same zone as the Sliteye shark. So let's see. This is about coral reef sharks. So which shark species use coral reefs, and how does the level of dependence vary among species? Coral reef associated sharks include a range of species of different size, life history, and degree in connection with coral reefs. Based on the residency patterns and dispersal capabilities, Reef-associated sharks can be classified into two main groups. One, which is reef residents, which are species commonly found at or near coral reefs year-round. And two, non-residents, which include species that occur in coral reef habitats opportunistically or seasonally but are not reliant on them. Reef residents could be further divided into reef specialists, that is, small cryptic sharks that spend most of their time at a single reef and or have limited movement between reef habitats, and reef generalists, that is, species that tend to use medium or large amounts of space due to higher genetic requirements. Examples of reef specialists include small cryptic species such as the epaulet shark, the woebegone, and the brown-banded carpet sharks. Reef generalist species are the most well-known group of coral reef species and include the larger, more mobile species that live year-round on coral reefs such as the black-tip reef shark, white-tip reef shark, gray reef shark, silver-tip shark, and Caribbean reef shark. In contrast, non-resident sharks such as the tiger shark, lemon shark, and great hammerhead, bull shark, and nurse sharks use a wide range of available habitats including coral reefs during their life. Non-resident sharks are not always large species, including species such as the Australian weasel shark and the Sliteye shark. So, really cool that Sliteye sharks are in that category of a non-resident shark adjacent to a coral reef habitat. I love seeing like this classification of sharks too. And the study is Reef Shark Science, Key Questions and Future Directions. So I'm going to post this in a chat if anybody is interested for future reading. It's pretty interesting in general in terms of like how sharks relate to coral reefs. Here's another photo, and this is from the same field guide that we saw last week, but this is a new photo of a Sliteye shark. So let's see if we can kind of zoom in a little bit to get a better view. So this individual looks like, based on the coloration, looks like probably had been landed for a while. So I think in life the colors would have been a little bit more vibrant, a little bit darker too. You can see a little bit of transparency in the pectoral fins, and then you can very barely see the notch here. The eyes are interesting, where it looks kind of more like horizontally compressed as far as like the pupil goes. The pupil looks a little bit more horizontally compressed, but and then the position of the second dorsal fin, the small base of the first dorsal fin. But I don't think much more information other than the image here. Seasonal changes characterize the shark array assemblage in a subtropical shallow sandy habitat in the Semen Galisa wetland park in South Africa. Totals 10 species were identified in winter and 9 were identified in summer. All rays and 3 species of sharks were present in both seasons. The common black-tip shark Conroe-Nicholls lombatus and the scalloped hammerhead shark Suina lewini were only recorded in winter, and the Sliteye shark Loxodon macrorhinus was only seen in summer. Okay, interesting. What I think would be kind of cool, it's just kind of tangentially reminds me of this, is I always think it's really cool to kind of summarize which sharks live in which ecoregion. And I wish there was a way to do that where we have the large distributions, and like I've done this for my home ecoregion, but I started on a project of trying to do it for other ecoregions, and I wonder if I should continue it, because we have like known distributions of sharks from around the world, and if you cross-reference it with the definitions of marine ecoregions, it would be kind of cool to create like ecoregional assemblages of shark species that could be found in each one. I think Actually, I do think the ISAN red list has something like that. Um, yes, definitely agree, Howard. Pretty cool image from the paper that we saw. I think it was this one. Yes, there we go. A really cool image of the shark. Um, but what I'm kind of curious about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, ISAN Redlist does have some kind of filter feature. So let me see if we could do this. I'm actually really curious about this, taking a quick side tangent. Because I'd especially love to see, since we have our dear Canadian friends tonight, I wonder if we can get a list of Canadian sharks. I think that'd be extremely cool if we're able to do that. So let's see. And this will be a little bit inaccurate because I think I've tried this before a while ago with a different project, and sometimes it's a little hit or miss. But let's see if we could make a list of Canadian sharks. So just kind of for fun. So we got Conroe-Nicholls, or the ground sharks. We'll do squaliforms, which are the dogfish. Erectolobiforms, which are carpet sharks. Lamniforms are mackerel sharks. Squatiniforms are angel sharks. Hexantiforms are cow and frill sharks. Heterodontiforms are bullhead sharks. And then Prisciophoriforms are the saw sharks. We're excluding radriforms and myliobatiforms, which are rays. Rhinocristiforms are rays. Torpedoniforms are rays. And chimeriforms are chimeras. Okay, good. So we've got all these sharks here. Now let's see if we can do country legends. Nope. Land regions. North America. Canada. Here we go. I think we kind of did it. Alright, Canadian sharks. Let's see what we have. So far this actually looks pretty accurate. So we have the Iceland cat shark, the basket shark, the smooth hammerhead, the great lantern shark, Amopterus princeps, Greenland shark, the black dogfish. Yeah, these are all cold water sharks. The spiny dogfish, the Portuguese dogfish, the white shark, the whale shark. Interesting. I'm a bit shocked by that. Interesting. So whale shark is included here. Blue shark, porbeagle, the black rough scale cat shark, Aposturus melanospor, taupe shark, blunt nose six-gill shark, northern Pacific spiny dogfish, salmon shark, small eye cat shark, short fin mako, kite fin shark, Pacific angel shark, Atlantic sharpnose shark, brown cat shark, false cat shark, Aposturus profundorum is a demon cat shark, ghost cat shark, common thresher, big eye thresher, Pacific sleeper shark, and broad-nosed seven-gill shark. So sharks of Canada. So really cool, very very interesting, like solid cold water assemblage, except for the whale shark. It's kind of what I'm guessing is that maybe Nova Scotia has like a whale shark record, because otherwise I'm not sure where that comes from, but kind of cool. I kind of think we should. I think it would be cool to pick a Canadian shark for next week. By the way, a lot of these we've covered already, but I think let's see if I've recently reorganized the channel a little bit, and I wonder if one of the demon cat sharks we haven't seen yet. So let's see. Playlists. Let's see, we had white ghost cat shark, Iceland cat shark, deep water cat shark. Okay. So we did this one. I think we haven't done Aposturus microps yet, the small eye cat shark. That might be kind of a cool one. Just making absolutely sure we have not touched that one yet. Let's see, deep water. Iceland, white ghost. Just double checking. Okay. So, we haven't done Iceland cat shark, slam shark. Oh, cool. Whale shark in. Oh, whale shark in BC, I think. Gotcha. Very cool. Salmon shark. So we've done salmon shark before. Iceland cat shark we've done before, but we have not done Sliteye cat shark, which is a cousin of the Iceland cat shark. So I think we should do. I think this might be a cool one. Small cat shark. Yeah, Aperostoris microps. Aperostoris microps. Only because we've done. I can't remember which stream is this. So for the Iceland cat shark, we did this one is stream number 119. So it's kind of amazing that we've covered so many sharks already. So stream number 119 was Iceland cat shark, which is Aperostoris larsoni, but we have not done the small-eye cat shark, Aperostoris microps, and I think that one, as far as the demon cat shark species, that one has a lot more information on it. So that might be a cool pick for next week. So just leave it in the chat as a potential suggestion. As we go through tonight, we might see a cool tropical shark we might want to cover instead. But yeah. Overall, let's see. Before I move back to the Sliteye shark, I'm kind of curious to see how Canadian sharks are doing. So a lot of least concern sharks, so a lot of the cat sharks are doing okay, which is great. And the salmon shark is least concern, which is great. Oops, sorry, let me get out of here. As far as species of conservation concern in Canada, big eye thresher, broad-nosed seven-gill, common thresher, they're all vulnerable. Kitefin shark is vulnerable. Pacific angel shark is vulnerable. The short fin mako is a big one. So short fin mako is endangered. The taupe shark is critically endangered. The whale shark's endangered. And the basking shark's endangered. So basking, whale, taupe, and short fin mako. Everybody else seems to be doing fairly okay. It's so cool, by the way, that Canada has both the porbeagle and the salmon shark, so both lamna. There's only 2 lamna in the world, and Canada has both of them, which is so cool. So yeah, a lot of cool like I love the deep water sharks in terms of like or the cold water sharks. They have such like a tough aesthetic, you know. There's something about them that just you can kind of feel it, you know. So really cool collection of sharks in Canada. So let's see, Saint Pierre. Oh, this is interesting. You can even filter for Saint Pierre and Miquelon, which I didn't know this was a thing for the longest time, by the way, but this, if I'm not mistaken, is a part of France. So on this little island, you have great lantern shark, Greenland shark, black dogfish, white shark, porbeagle, spiny dogfish, the boa cat shark, interesting, blue shark, black nose shark, that's not correct, I don't think that's correct, common thresher, big eye thresher, deepwater cat shark, yeah. Black nose shark can't be correct. I don't think it's correct, because that's a tropical species. So it's it can be a little hit or miss, but just still interesting stuff to kind of see. So, ISM list is I meant salmon shark. Oh, I see. Salmon shark should have been on the list. Yeah. So yeah, because it looks like oh, it won't let me go back, sadly. But I can just trigger it again. Yeah, so it's cool that yeah, it looks like salmon shark was kind of like tucked into the collection here. What I'm kind of curious about taking it back to Australia, we're taking it back to the Sliteye Shark. We talk about Australia quite a lot, and I'm kind of curious about Australian sharks. It's probably going to be a huge diversity, but let's see. Oceania. Oh my gosh, 183 species. So we'll just kind of take a quick look at only a few, but we've got nervous shark, bull shark, spear-tooth shark, sand tiger, gray reef, basking shark. Huge amount of species here. Eastern angel. I'm just going to shout out ones that kind of catching my eye. Creek whaler. White tip reef shark. The pygmy lantern shark. Interesting. The whiskery shark. Huh. The pencil shark. Huh. Okay. That sounds so strange. Okay. I'm just gonna put that one in there as also kind of a fun suggestion. Pencil shark. Hypogaleus guinsis. Interesting. Oop. Hyugaensis. Ridge-A cat shark, flagtail swell shark. Huge biodiversity in Australia. Snaggletooth shark. Shout out to snaggletooth sharks. A bulldog cat shark, wow. Crocodile shark. Fantastic that crocodile sharks live in Australia. A huge diversity here, wow. Pinocchio cat shark, wow. Man, really incredible. I think we'll try one more before we get back to Slit-eye shark. So let's see. A lot of places here. Let's go to South and Southeast Asia. Let's do... Let's do Indonesia, since we were talking about Indonesian sharks last week, and the Slit-eye shark is part of it too. So, bull shark, sand tiger, gray reef shark, basking shark, megamouth, Indonesian angel shark, white sharks, black tip reef shark, scalloped hammerheads. A lot of like classic tropical species, whale shark included, birdbeak dogfish, oceanic white tip, Halmahera epaulette shark, coral cat shark, bally cat shark, Ambon cat shark, very cool. Snaggletooth shark again. Pondicherry shark, very critically endangered rare species. Slit-eye shark. Sandbar shark, winghead shark, Cook's swell shark. So really cool diversity, actually. Very interesting. What might be kind of fun too is perhaps we could choose a species next week, or we could choose a country next week. That might be kind of interesting to shake it up a little bit. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to do. I'll keep going on the Slit-eye shark. But this feature on ICRLS is really interesting. Where it's kind of cooking up some fun ideas. So let me know what you guys think. Oh, how many species in Indonesia? That was Let's see. What's kind of cool is that again, it's like a little bit hit and miss on accuracy, but IUCN Red List will have the numbers here. So if we did land regions, 109 species in Indonesia. So 109. When we go back to, excuse me, Australia, the biodiversity was insane. And Australia is a huge area too, but 183 in Australia, which is really incredible. If we go back to North America, Canada 30 species, St. Pierre and Miquelon 12 species, United States 119, but that kind of makes sense where the United States is including Hawaii, which is a completely different ecosystem. So let's just do the continental United States. We'll do, and excluding Alaska. So we'll just do Alabama, California, Connecticut, Delaware, DC, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Texas, Virginia, Washington. Okay. Great lantern shark, tiger shark, Caribbean rough shark, black dogfish, Greenland shark, scalped hammerhead, Atlantic nurse shark, horn shark, a lot of the classics. What I'm actually extremely curious about, Carolina hammerhead, what I'm very, very curious about is, let me get out of the United States. And I'm going to click Virginia. Because already this is weird. So it depends on how you define it, but the Virginia marine ecoregion has about 50 species of shark. But when you look at the province of Virginia, according to IUCN Red List, it's only going to list 8. So I'm just kind of curious which 8 they picked. Out of curiosity, here we go. Tiger shark, which is like, okay, you know, I mean, we have them. It's a summertime species that is fairly occasional off the coast. Black dogfish is a deep water species. They're here, but like that's such a deep water species. Scalped hammerhead, yes, we do have them. Silky shark, yes, offshore. Atlantic sharpnose is a really good pick. Chain cat shark, also a very good pick. Caribbean lantern shark and Atlantic angel shark. So love Atlantic angel sharks, also known as sand devils. Caribbean lantern shark is another deep water species. But for whatever reason, it is missing. Sandbar sharks are huge in Virginia. Dusky smoothhounds are huge in Virginia. Spiny dogfish. Basket sharks not huge, but they're here. White sharks are here. Bull sharks are here. I mean, there's a lot that this is missing. So it's a little bit hit and miss. So take it with a grain of salt, but it's an interesting starting point. The country level gets a little bit more accurate. So, but interesting. Oh, and okay. Selfish curiosity. I'm very curious what it's going to say for Alaska. So hold on. Alaskan sharks. Okay, tiger shark? Northern Pacific spiny dogfish, Pacific angel shark, Pacific sleeper shark, and brown cat shark. I have no idea where this tiger shark is coming from, so it's a little bit, there's a little hit and miss in terms of the accuracy for this feature of IUCN Red List, but it might be kind of fun to do, like as far as kind of describing a shark. Ooh, sharks in New Zealand or sharks in Hawaii. Ooh, good picks. Let's do. That's a really cool idea. We should do both. Let's start with Hawaii and then New Zealand the week after. I think those are really good ideas. So I'm just gonna let's see. gonna make a quick note. Alright. Thank you, Howard. That's a great suggestion. I think it's going to be really cool to talk about like a regional focus, especially since there's probably like regional field guides published on sharks. There almost certainly is, and kind of looking at something from like an area conservation perspective, that might be kind of an interesting shift. So that will be a really good pick for next week. So we'll do sharks of Hawaii, and then followed by sharks of New Zealand. The week after. So I think this is going to be really, really interesting to explore and kind of see. So I'm glad we kind of like stumbled on this, but I think this is going to be cool to do. So yeah, thank you for kind of helping craft that, because I think it's going to be fun just to kind of mix it up a little bit. So we have about 30 minutes left, so we'll see what else we can learn about the Slit-eye shark. I don't think I have too much more, so also I don't know what's going on with this weird mouse thing. But anyway, life history traits of a small body coastal shark. The life histories of small body coastal sharks, particularly carcharinids, are generally less conservative than those of large body species. The present study investigated the life history of the small bodied slit-eye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, from the subtropical Hervey Bay, Queensland, and compared the species biology to that of other coastal carcharinids. The best fit age model provided parameters of L infinity, so infinite length is 89 centimeters total length. For sex combined data, logistic function provided the best fit, L infinity, and so the maximum length basically is 84 centimeters. Let's see. Within Hervey Bay, Loxodon macrorhinus exhibited an annual seasonal reproductive cycle, producing an average litter of about 2 pups, with the exception of the low fecundity and large size at birth relative to the maximum maternal total length. The life history traits of the Slit-eye shark are comparable to other small-bodied coastal carcharinids, and its apparent fast growth and early maturation contrast that of large-bodied carcharinids. So. See. Let's see. Trophic ecology in common elazabranchs exploited by artisanal shark fisheries off southwest Madagascar. It looks like the Slit-eye shark comes up often in here, so. In this study, we used stable isotopes to assess trophic relationships, isotopic niche breadth, and overlap, as well as ontogenetic variation and trophic interactions amongst the commonly caught elazabranch species in artisanal fisheries operating in the coastal waters of southwestern Madagascar, including the scalped hammerhead shark, the slit-eye shark, and the giant guitarfish and silky shark. Let's see, so. Oh, I see, okay. So for those 4 species, it kind of characterized their depth and diet and habitat. So the guitarfish is benthic, so 0 to 200 meters. It eats small fishes, mollusks, and crustaceans. The slit-eye shark is demersal, 0 to 80 meters, small demersal fishes and cephalopods, crustaceans. The silky shark is epipelagic and oceanic, 0 to 500 meters, large squids, pelagic fishes, pelagic crabs. And the hammerhead shark, scalped hammerhead, is coastal and oceanic, 0 to 275 meters, pelagic to demersal fishes, squids, and elazabranchs. Over the 12-month study period, 84 slit-eye sharks were obtained. So most of these slit-eye sharks are very small, so nearly a meter in length. And they're very abundant, so a lot of these little slit-eye sharks. And then a few hammerheads in the same length category, some larger ones. And then one really large silky shark. These data provide the first investigations of trophic interactions, isotopic niches, ontogenic and gender variation in the foraging ecology of 4 heavily exploited elasmobranch species from a data-poor region, the Mozambique Channel off southwestern Madagascar. The scalped hammerhead, slit-eye shark, guitarfish, and silky shark are among the most commonly caught species by artisanal fishers over continental shelf waters in this region, and likely constitute a large proportion of the elasmobranch biomass. These species also account for a high percentage of the catch of artisanal fisheries off northern Madagascar, where concern over exploitation rates has recently been documented. Sliteye shark is a poorly known continental shelf species that lives in intertidal areas up to 80 meters in depth, and which feeds on teleosts, coastal cephalopods, and crustaceans. Despite these marked differences, there is considerable overlap in carbon values, delta carbon values among the 4 species. Larger variation in delta carbon values observed in the Sliteye shark and hammerhead compared with the guitarfish likely indicate the diversity of habitats and feeding areas encountered with larger home ranges, especially for the more pelagic hammerhead shark. It seems that the slit-eye shark and the guitarfish are truly coastal consumers foraging in inshore and benthic habitats. The highest degree of overlap in delta nitrogen values was found between individuals of guitarfish and slit-eye shark species that both occur in shallow waters on the continental shelf. Overlap in diet would therefore be expected, although fine-scale niche partitioning concealed by isotope analysis may occur. Detailed stomach content data collected over a seasonal cycle would be required to determine this. The scalped hammerhead and slit-eye shark also exhibited a moderately high degree of niche overlap, but the former had a significantly higher mean of delta nitrogen value related to an ontogenic diet shift with size. Juveniles of scalped hammerheads and slit-eye sharks of all size classes had similar delta nitrogen values, also related to their occurrence in coastal waters and a potential for high niche overlap. It is important to note that establishing isotopic baselines and systems endpoints for carbon and nitrogen stable isotopes in this region would be required to further elucidate the trophic ecology and roles of these species. The large variability in hammerhead and slit-eye isotopic values may indicate either a high level of generous feeding behavior or, more likely, because of the long turnover times of muscle tissue, consistent differences in average trophic interactions of individuals within generous populations. Such behaviors have been found in juvenile bull sharks in a nursery area of Florida, and has been suggested for a number of other elasmobranch taxa such as batoids. In contrast, the slit-eye shark and guitarfish may be more specialized at the population level, where individuals may all have similarly generalized diets over the time period that muscle isotopic values are integrated. Interesting. So, basically, in summary, this study is kind of like measuring through delta nitrogen, delta carbon. It's kind of taking a stab at how each shark occupies a little bit of a different niche, and sometimes there's overlap where like smaller hammerheads may be occupying similar habitat or similar competing for similar resources as slit-eye sharks, but eventually they diverge, which is so interesting. In our study, differences in delta nitrogen values between male and female slit-eye sharks indicates that males feed at a higher relative trophic position compared to females. So this actually is interesting because that relates to, there's that other study that's talking about ontogenic differences in teeth, meaning that, or sexual dimorphism in teeth. So males and females may have different tooth types. So it's kind of cool to see that there's a completely separate study sort of supporting that male slit-eye sharks might be eating different kinds of prey items than female slit-eye sharks. And it's especially cool since a lot of sharks, we've been talking about it a lot recently, but they segregate sexually, so they occupy different habitats, and different habitats may yield different assemblages of prey. So pretty fascinating. It's so cool seeing how complicated shark populations are in terms of how they behave. So let's see. Whether this reflects foraging on different prey taxa or sexual segregation means to be elucidated. We do not detect sex differences in isotopic values of hammerheads, which contrasts with results from individuals captured off the coast of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. So overall, really, really cool study. Let's see. This one I just hopped over to, I think, is just a genetic study. So we've already done a lot of genetic stuff with the shark. So I think we'll kind of keep moving on because I know it's getting a little bit later. Let's see. I'm going to check comments really quick. Hey Tim, welcome back. Oh wow, okay, sorry, a lot of comments. Good to see you, and no worries. I expected, since it is Memorial Day, I expected probably like lower American presence, so no worries, no worries. Hope you're having a great Memorial Day weekend. I was telling everybody at the top of the stream I was happy to see a sandbar shark over the weekend. I went camping near the eastern shore of Virginia, and this time of year we have female sandbar sharks pupping, and I was lucky enough to see like a large fin of a sandbar shark in the water, kind of cruising by the shoreline. There was a lot of predation going on where we had sandbar sharks, striped bass, and dolphins all kind of like being very active over the weekend. So it was super cool. Howard, I'd love to see a documentary on tiger sharks of Alaska. Maybe Geraldo Rivera could do it, followed by Greenland sharks in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah. Yeah, so this is referring to the IUCN Red List map. So IUCN can be mostly very accurate, but it can make kind of goofy calls. And like a tiger shark in Alaska is a very goofy thing on that map. So let's check out the tiger shark's normal distribution. Because that is a classic tropical and subtropical species. So Galeocerdo cuvier. Let's see. Yeah, because when we filtered for, okay, what this is like a joke. This cannot be real. Okay, so there is a tiger shark. Okay, now we have to find this because that angers me. Hold on, Galeocerdo cuvier. Alaska. What is going on here? Where in the world did that come from? I think this is like I think that's a mistake. There's no way. They don't go up that far. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to check two studies. Okay, one potential rarely examined source of mortality for seabirds is predation by large-bodied fishes. Published accounts of large fishing birds include northern pike. consuming waterfowl and freshwater lakes, monkfishes feeding on dove keys in the Northwest Atlantic Ocean, and tiger sharks prey on various terrestrial bird species. But that has nothing to do with Alaska, though. Okay, that has nothing to do with Alaska. So this might be a mistake. This is so interesting. So it looks like, and actually, let's check out. We'll check out shark references, but let's see. Yeah, there's no way. So yeah, there's no way it could be found here. Okay, so then we'll just do Google AI. Can tiger sharks be found in Alaska? Because I will say, the new AI feature of Google, tiger sharks are extremely rare in Alaska. Oh my goodness. While there are unconfirmed historical reports of them appearing in the extreme northwest Pacific, blah 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 blah. Climate change is shifting tiger shark populations northward. New NOAA fishery studies show that tiger sharks are migrating into northern latitudes earlier and expand their movements further north due to ocean warming. These changes leave them more vulnerable to fishing. New studies found that tiger shark seasonal distribution had expanded in the northwest Atlantic Ocean. Tiger sharks are higher migratory species. The distribution stretches from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, to the Gulf of Mexico. There's no way. Yeah, so there's no way they're in Alaska. This has nothing to do with Alaska. Wait a minute. Okay, this is what's going on. So this NOAA study is saying that tiger sharks are expanding their range northeast or northward, which makes sense, but that's not Canada or Alaska. This Google AI is saying, oh, it can happen. It's citing that paper and saying, oh, it can happen, and the reality is, no, it can't. That's just silly. So, and then finally, this, I think, is a glitch. And I'm not sure where this comes from. So it'll be interesting, not for tonight, but at some point. This is either some weird thing from like an old report or something that was entered in and it just wasn't verified, or it's just a weird glitch that this is actually a mistake on the map that should be removed. And I think that is probably the case because this distribution looks correct. The East Coast of the United States is warmer than the West Coast because it has the Gulf Stream. So tiger sharks coming up to like New Hampshire, very rare, but possible. And then Southern California, like they have comparable temperatures. This is ridiculous. There's no way that they live in Alaska. So sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but. Yeah, I really, really don't know where this came from. So there's a mistake somewhere. So that's just really interesting. It never gets old. I mean, and what's so funny is that there's a lot of like weird little. It takes a while to kind of develop like an eye, I think, for finding those errors. There's a lot of like positional mistakes like that, or range mistakes like that. The most infamous one has to do with white sharks, where white shark tagging and O-search and all that has been so popular. I hope that's kind of dying down. I haven't really paid attention to it in a while, but I don't know if it's as popular as it was, which I fingers crossed. But those tags used to create so many mistakes, and I would see like white shark pings in areas that there's no way they could enter them, like Pamlico Sound and Chesapeake Bay. There's no way those sharks can go in there. So they cause a lot of confusion, and I've had to tell people, no, we don't have white sharks in the bay. There's just no way. So yeah, it happens. There's mistakes here and there. So, Hammerpris is also documented from Madagascar. So it was actually fun how I I actually think Greenland sharks technically can be found in the Gulf of Mexico, technically. And the reason being is that the Gulf is deep enough where the Greenland sharks can be in the deep water portions of it. So let's verify that really quick. Because we have Greenland sharks here, but they stick to the deep water. They don't come up in the shallows because... oh, sorry, that's the European range. Let me get the global range. So let's see. Oh, you know what, Howard? You are right. Look at that. So it looks like for the Greenland shark, you are absolutely right. So it looks like for the Greenland shark, the range kind of ends at the Bahamas, so they don't go into the Gulf. So I wonder if maybe it's like passing through like the Straits of Florida is like too warm for them and too shallow for them, so they just like stick to the deep water areas here. So they do come down to the same latitude as the Gulf, but they don't go in. So very interesting. Never mind. So let's see. Which makes me wonder, some so-called fossil species are actually... Oh, interesting. So back to the tooth types for the Sliteye shark. Some so-called fossil species are actually examples of sexual dimorphism. I just saw Tim's comment, hitching a ride on a cruise ship from Galveston. Oh, very, very nice. Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, just for the Greenland shark. So, yeah, I don't know where this tiger shark thing came from. I'm curious. I'm curious if it's... What I think might have happened is there might have been a reporting of a shark from Alaska, and it was misidentified as a tiger shark, and somehow that got introduced into the research, and then that influenced the ISM red list map. That's what I think happened, but I'm not 100% sure. But interesting to kind of see and you know, like process that real time. So possible, never heard of it as such. Oh, and sorry, back to these fossil species. Makes me wonder if some so-called fossil species are actually examples of sexual dimorphism. I think probably, and that's maddening, isn't it? In terms of you know, fossils are already very, very difficult to identify at the species level anyway. But the fact that there's variations, probably also not just between the sexes, but also between age groups, where adults may have, or probably do have, different teeth type than juveniles. So that is quite maddening, you know. But you're probably right. So as far as what we see in the fossil record for these sharks, so I think wrapping up for the Sliteye shark, we have a couple more like quick abstracts or summaries for the species. So this one is, I think, from another field guide. Harmless shark feeds on small fishes and crustaceans. Caught and floating in bottoms at gill nets with line gear, including pelagic longlines. Let's see. Very small shark. This is kind of a... I think it's like the same illustration as the FAO guide, just a little bit rougher looking. Let's see, species profile for the Sliteye shark. Another field guide here. A couple of local names are Mushi, so I like that it's called a Mushi, or Kasora. Let's see. A small slender shark, snout very long, parabolic in shape with very small labial furrows, eyes large with a posterior notch. Grayish to brownish without a prominent color pattern. Indo-West Pacific, South Africa, Madagascar, Seychelles, Red Sea, India, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, China, Taiwan, Japan, Philippines, and Australia. 7 to 80 meters in depth. It eats small bony fishes, anchovies. So anchovies are the preferred food item for this shark. You have to be very fast to catch anchovies. Croakers, cephalopods, and crustaceans. Tertiary role in the food chain. Let's see, live bearing, 1 embryo in each uterus, so only 2 pups at birth. Let's see. And then this is a photograph of a very damaged specimen. What's kind of interesting is you could see how much the rostrum has dried out, and that brings it all the way back to the original description, where this seemed so ridiculous at first, and then it really isn't that far fetched. If a specimen is damaged enough, it will look unrecognizable to the living shark. So. Let's see. Just perusing a couple more abstracts here. Size distribution and sex ratio of sharks caught by Oman's artisanal fishery. Looks like the Slit-eye shark is part of the study, but not a dominant feature. I think this is the last one. Assessing the overlap between the diet of a coastal shark and the surrounding prey communities in a subtropical embayment. An Lazarus survey of subtropical Hervey Bay, Australia, captured the Sliteye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, at only one of 3 sites sampled. The dietary composition of the small shark species was compared to the prey communities within Hervey Bay to test whether prey availability was driving this observation. Dietary analysis of prey groups revealed that teleos dominated the diet, percent index of relative importance, and percent geometric index of importance, with shrimp-like invertebrates and cephalopods identified as the most important invertebrates prey groups. Beta remote underwater video used to sample prey communities at each site demonstrated a highly diverse and significantly different community composition among the sites. There was no significant overlap between the diet of the Slit-eye shark and any of the prey communities detected by BRUVS, according to one-way analysis of similarities and a simplified Morcita index. Habitat activity analysis revealed affinity of Slit-eye sharks for the site with the highest water clarity. And it mentions the Secchi disk, which is a way to measure turbidity in water, opposing that of the 3 other shark species. Overall, the results suggest that the distribution of the Slit-eye shark is not driven by prey availability, but other factors such as water clarity, predator avoidance, or reduction of interspecies competition. So, very interesting to confirm that for this shark, water clarity is the big feature, or one of the big drivers for its occurrence. And it's interesting related to the large eyes of this species, because it's a shallow water shark, but maybe the water clarity in combination with the large eyes helps it find prey at a further distance, and that might be its weird part of its like niche in terms of its own evolution, where by maximizing light or maximizing your field of vision, maximizing vision, and like being able to see. I don't know if the larger eyes necessarily help it see further and like locate prey items. And actually, you know what? Now I'm kind of thinking about this out loud. Anchovies swim in these like really large schools. They're very tiny fish, and they're a little bit harder to see in like murky water. But if you can see like them shimmering in clear water, and if you have large eyes to maximize light to be able to kind of detect that prey item and detect it from a distance, and then kind of rock it off to where the anchovies are, so that you don't scare them initially, because they're very agile fish and they're very, very quick and they respond pretty quickly. I wonder if that's sort of how the shark, or is a big feature of or a big influence in terms of how the shark evolved, where it has a very strong caudal fin. It's a pelagic species, so pelagic is in it doesn't sit on the bottom, it's swimming in the water column. It has these really large eyes. I don't know, that's kind of my guess on it. So, but it's interesting that it specializes, or not specializes, but strongly prefers anchovies as opposed to other prey items. So, catching up on comments. Let's see. Hemiprisis upper and lower teeth were initially identified as separate species, which is so interesting because the upper teeth are so unique with their very strong serrations, and the lower teeth are a little bit more classical. Tim, is the fossil record comprised of species with more bones, less cartilage, or is it just from the jaws and teeth with regards to sharks? So yes, Howard's right. Many jaws and teeth. Some cartilage, especially vertebrae, to exist. However, in exceptional deposits, entire specimens are preserved, including internal organs, i.e., the Cleveland shale. So before we wrap up for tonight, let's take a quick look at some Cleveland shale sharks, just to kind of show. And thank goodness Fossil Guy is here. Fossil Guy is like a great resource. Okay, yeah. There's a couple great images, but here's one in particular I really like. So, this is a preserved shark fossil. Very unusual species with a very prominent fin spine above its head. So here's the eye socket, here's the mouth, but then you have this like really strange spine feature. And I think these are called anvil sharks. Just because like it's such a strange feature that they have. We also have, I know I kind of went by them really quickly, Cladosilaki. So this is a beautiful specimen from Cleveland Shale, where you can actually see the lower jaw here, this like V shape here. You can even see like each of the individual fin rays here. Actually, my wife and I saw this model, by the way. This is in Maryland. This is the Calvert Marine Museum, right? Yeah. This is the Calvert Marine Museum model, but we saw this last month, actually. So this is a model of the infamous Megalodon. And yeah, I think this is it as far as... Oh, no, here we go. Orthocanthus. So not from the Cleveland Shale, but a really beautiful preserved skeleton of Orthocanthus, which is a fossil shark from Germany. So I'm going to post this in the chat. If you like to take a look, Tim, because it's a really cool website. And there's a lot of great resources here and there, kind of on fossilguy.com. A lot of really great articles on like how white sharks evolved, and different fossil sites and what sharks you can see in different areas, like the Carolinas or Virginia, or Chesapeake Bay, and many places around the world. But those are some of my go-tos as far as the fossil hunting forum. So, all right. Well, I think since it's 11, oh, nice, Howard. You can see youngs in the bellies of their mother. Was that for the? That's so cool. Is that for this one, the Orthocanthus? Or is it from Cladosilaki? Let's see. It's hard to tell because I have like a lower resolution photo here. So, but the website itself is extremely cool. So, so fossilguy.com, a lot of really cool resources on it. So, I know I skipped through this one, but Helicoprion, beautiful fossil of a very unusual shark's dentition, the whirl-tooth shark. So, but anyway, I think we'll wrap up in a little bit. But guys, thank you so much for watching for this Slit-eye Shark. This was pretty fun to learn more about this unique genus, and then also to kind of go on a couple tangents here and there. But overall, I really like learning about this entirely different type of shark, where it's unusually elongate. It specializes more in anchovies, and I'm very pleased to see that it's doing better than most other sharks due to its fast reproduction, fast growth, and just the fact that it can reproduce every year. Even though it's only 2 pups per litter, it's still faring a lot better than other shark species. So, and these sharks, again, like the small ones that can grow fast or grow quickly, these are kind of like the future of sharks if we keep, unless we take stronger conservation action to preserve the larger sharks. these are kind of like the future as far as these sharks are doing well and are faring better than a lot of the larger individuals. So, but overall, really interesting species, and really glad that we can learn more about it tonight. And I'm excited for next week. We're going to try something entirely new, where we're going to do a region episode focusing on Hawaii. So we're going to take a look at not just one species of shark, but multiple species and how they interact in an ecosystem, starting with Hawaii. So Sharks of Hawaii will be next week. And until then, I hope you all have a really great week. If it's Memorial Day, hope you enjoyed I hope you enjoyed a longer weekend. Thank you guys. Thank you. I hope you all have a great week, and then we'll tune in next week for this exciting new adventure in Hawaii with Hawaiian sharks. But until then, cheers. Thank you guys for joining, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.